Hi, everybody. My name's Wendy from Sunflower Publishing, and I'm thrilled this evening to have a guest on the show who has written, well, I'm not going to tell you all the books she's written because otherwise it would take too long. So I'll only name a few. Leonie Mack. Welcome, Leonie. Hi.
Hi.
Now, I was trying to do so much research on you to find something dark and deep in your past, but everything was so nice and sunny and it was so difficult to find anything. So what we've got is she is an author of romantic comedies with great international locations and
Italy.
and big feelings, and she loves a happy ending. And I'm thinking, this girl sounds too good to be true.
No, I just write too good to be true, which maybe means you should be suspicious.
And then when I finished reading the latest one that you've just released, and I looked at the end and, about what research that you've done, yes, A Taste of Italian Sunshine.
Yeah.
When I read the end of that about your research, and it just said, I'm really sort of apologise to my three kids for dragging you on every bus, every vineyard to do the research for this book. And I just thought, I wonder if they'll hold it against her when they get older. Mom, this is what you did to us. You dragged us around every vineyard. But anyway, welcome. I'm absolutely delighted. And it's so nice to
I'm
finally
delighted.
meet you.
Yeah.
I keep seeing you pop up and across and, there's another book there. And so it's so
like
nice to finally meet you. And so
yes, for aperitivo.
Now I've got, what have I got? I've got a really nice box here of pecorino, which I think is
that not a cheese? cheese as well.
Doesn't that mean sheep? Is that pecorino? Anyway, I'm drinking one of these, which is pecorino, which I think is quite specific to Abruzzo. But anyway.
Yeah, well, I've got prosecco, of course.
You've got prosecco.
Yeah.
It started to thunder later on this afternoon, and then the heavens opened, and I thought, I don't know about prosecco. Let's just stick to the wine. But anyway, right, before we get too drunk to carry on, let's start at the beginning. You have achieved a remarkable success for one so young.
So young. I've got three kids. I'm not going to be that young.
And they're aging you rapidly, I'm sure. So talk me through the beginning then. I mean, I know that you graduated in journalism. So take me, why journalism and from the journey from there?
I think journalism was one of those classic, I always wanted to be a writer. And you think that makes sense at the time, but actually it really doesn't. Because journalism is less about the writing and more about the sort of commitment to discovering things, which I didn't necessarily have the backbone for journalism. I like to write happy stories. I don't like to, chase people for the truth. So I think it was one of those classic cases of I wanted to be a writer, but at least it taught me the grammar side of things. Straight off the bat, which was helpful. But yeah, and so then I kind of drifted. We traveled a bit, and I did this and that and the other, and then had some kids, and but the only thing I ever wanted to do was write. So then, as soon as we had a little bit of childcare, I started saying, well, we don't have enough childcare for a proper job, so I'll give it a little while and try and query some books and really give it a go. And then I got lucky. With Boldwood Books, my publisher, I queried them when they were still open to unagented submissions, which was just lucky. And then let me grab.
I mean, and then yours is such a success story, isn't it, really? I mean, this is how, in an ideal world, with a good wind behind you and lots of talent and a husband and three kids, this is how it's done. You're such a success story.
Well, yeah, it's pretty unbelievable to be able to do this and create the world, and publish my stories, it still doesn't really feel real some days.
And what was the first one that you held up? That was the very
so yeah,
first one.
this one's my Christmas number one. This one has nothing to do with Italy. I'm
No.
sorry. This was just the book that writing a book when you have no idea if it's going to be published is quite different from writing a book when you have a contract and you have an editor, and they have expectations. And so I had no idea about the market or anything when I wrote that. Anyway, that came out in 2020. And then I won't show you them all because yeah, there are 6 these days, but I will show you this one because this is my best-selling book.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. I mean, I love all of them, but it's just I don't know what made this one the one. Yeah. So, and I mean, it's quite a nice story. There's a teacher in there, and there's a lot about music, which is something that's close to my heart. So maybe that's what. Or maybe it was just Lake Garda.
Yes, well, a romantic place if ever there was one. Yeah. It's not quite the same in Sheffield, is it? Really?
Actually, the book I'm writing at the moment.
No disrespect to anybody that lives in Sheffield.
No. It's just it's funny because Sheffield is actually quite a nice place, but I had to have friends who live there. But the book I'm currently writing, she was supposed to go somewhere in the UK, but instead she turns around and goes to the destination in the book. And I was like, somewhere in the UK, where's she going? Sheffield. So it's the same sort of thing. I'm like, no offense to Sheffield, but she's not in Sheffield. Yeah.
So are you, when you look back now on all the books that you've written, and do you think, gosh, this was so easy for me? How did this happen? Or, if you got some secret fairy godmother stashed away somewhere?
Oh gosh, the writing process is a lot of sweat, I suppose.
Yeah.
Brain sweat.
Yeah.
And that's what I love novels I don't think I could write. I mean, maybe if I tried, but other media, poems, short stories, even novellas, I struggle with, because with a novel, it's all like you can develop everything with lots of time, and when you to a degree, there's less pressure on each word, and then you can just sort of let it flow. Yeah, but it does mean that a novel is so long and gets so complex that sometimes it does feel kind of heavy in your brain. You need to get it out before it just weighs you down too much. I don't know. I love it. I would rather sit at my desk in the evening than watch a TV show or anything. So I kind of just roll with it a bit. Sometimes I do have to take a break, but I don't really like to. So it's I think it really is just sitting at the computer and letting it happen, and dog walks.
Oh, and dog walks. Where did you do your journalism degree? Because I know you've moved around a lot, and I know you adore travel. Because you were Australian born, that's right,
yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah, so I did my study in Australia as well.
Okay. So after you did your journalism degree in Australia, I know also you've lived in London. How did that happen?
Yeah, this is the classic. My husband and I said we're going to go to Europe for a year, as Australians do.
Okay.
And that's now become 17 years. Right. So we just never went home. It was, we were young, and we just kept finding ways to stay, and opportunities arose. We lived in Berlin first, and really loved it there. Yeah, and then we ended up in London, sort of work reasons, and then we're back in Germany now. Yeah, we never managed to live in Italy. Only visit, travel there.
So where is home now? Where do you consider home?
Yeah, we're in Würzburg in central Germany. We've been here nearly 5 years.
Yeah.
The kids really settle things. Their education becomes important. Continuity, especially in Germany, the German education system is quite inflexible. So you really think twice about making changes to that.
Right.
But yeah. How long have you been there you are in Abruzzo at the moment?
I am now, as we speak, yes.
Mm.
The first house, I've done this 3 times now. I can't seem to say goodbye to Italy at all. It's just there, isn't it? The first one was in 2009. That was the first house when we got caught up in the dreadful earthquake that we had here in L'Aquila. And most of the house collapsed really at that
Oh my goodness.
It was, quite an adventure. But, you've set, at least 2 books, no, 3 books, 4 books now in Italy.
4.
4, 2 in Venice. And
Yeah.
why Italy? Where's that come from?
Yeah. Yeah, that's certainly, I mean, I think one book fed on to another was the main thing. When I was writing and researching Italy ever after, my imagination starts working. I mean, from a reader point of view, Italy is perennially popular because it's the kind of place where people can visit. But there's also sort of what I really like about writing about Italy is kind of acknowledging and being aware of the mystique of the country and certain stereotypes, even to a degree, but then playing with that, and also digging deeper than that to find what is true about or where these stereotypes have come from, and sort of either turn them on their head or dig a little deeper. So certainly the cultural aspects just fed into each other, from going from, you can see it geographically. I went from Lake Garda to Venice to the Prosecco Hills. Actually,
and the research that you did then for A Taste of Italian Sunshine, I mean, I live here. I know what life is like here, and I only ever review books set in Italy, and you can generally sort of tell how genuine a book is going to be. And I really did feel that in that one, I felt that you'd got it. I really. I mean, this girl coming from London, and she's round the corner from, not McDonald's, Burger King or wherever, and then she comes to the, Prosecco Hills, and she meets Tiziano and the family and the mother, the nonna that runs the Agriturismo, and I think, well, you must have lived here to have even got any of that, really. You don't just discover that when you're here for a long weekend. You must have done a huge amount of research for this.
It is. It's funny. I think I was a little scared when I reached out to see if you would read the advance copy, because I was like, Wendy knows Italy. But on the other hand, I really felt like I had captured that, particularly with this book. I mean, the Venice books as well caught the sort of idiosyncrasies of Venice, but that's Venice is its own. Yeah, still its own. They still think it's its own country. It's not necessarily Italy broader. I mean, it is, of course, but I sort of felt like the story had captured something, and so I was quite excited to sort of test myself with you, I suppose. And so I was really looking out for you. I was looking out for your review to see if you would see that mirrored. It is. I mean, I have to do most of my research remotely. I can't spend months. I mean, we spent 10 days in the hills. I had already done a huge amount of research before that remotely, and then also afterwards, and contacts with people down there as well. But up there for you, but down there for me. But what I found was just the research. It just came alive. The place came alive with all the research that I was doing. I was listening to local music, and because of the dialect as well, sort of.
Well, exactly. Looking into you just wouldn't. I don't even know how you could research dialect as such. I mean,
it was hard
along the road. I have no idea what they're talking about. There's nothing that you can. It doesn't sound a bit like Italian, and the dialect here in Bizenti, where I am, would be very different to the dialect in another village as well. But then
Yeah, it's crazy.
Abruzzo's slightly different in that because it's been so remote for thousands of years, it's kind of on its own, really. But you know, I did love the story. I really did, and it is nice to have a story when there's an attraction, but kind of both parties kind of fight against it, really. You know, that is nice because you get to a point when you just want them to, oh, just put your arm around her, go on, she wants you to.
I think that's something that and I mean, I don't know that I did this consciously, but looking back at my books, that's something I do carefully plan, the whole the attraction versus the whatever's keeping them apart. And I don't know, I think I probably always do make that frustration happen. So if it's not worry the people if it's not their thing. This one, yeah.
I think that's a very successful formula. I mean, you know, in the evenings I've been watching a few Bridgertons, and that's exactly what happens, you know. I mean, they do get together and she says, you know, you do realize you're just going to frustrate the hell out of me. And he goes, oh, I hope so. You know, and they do get together.
Exactly. There's a really good tension in a romance, and that's what you aim for, definitely.
But no, I mean, anyone who's ever tasted grappa and lived to tell the tale. I mean, I did get to go to the Holy Grappa Museum in Bassano del Grappa with my research. I was quite sad that I couldn't manage to get Bassano del Grappa into the book because I love that place. Fuel, don't they?
Yeah, no, I just I had a lot of fun writing the characters that's not from the Prosecco Hills as well. Filippo, being this, you know, turning down his nose at these country people, and the, you know, the grappa and the.
But this idea, I don't know how common this is because I don't really know many wine tasters. But the idea that you have this wine taster who really can't drink that much alcohol anyway, because it has such an adverse effect on her, which is, you know, a really unusual aspect to have. You know, generally, if someone is a food taster, they love food, but she doesn't, she just spits it all out. She doesn't actually drink the alcohol, which makes her such an expert on it, doesn't it? Where did you get idea from?
Yeah, and it was interesting because I kind of also thought, you know, and she goes through this herself. Why did she become a wine taster when a glass gets her drunk? But it was actually, you know, as I was researching these, you know, masters of wine around the world and the different sorts of wine culture, at this, like, not at the grassroots level, which is what, you know, the Prosecco Hills was about, more this elite level where you're talking about fine restaurants, and when I was looking into that, it is, I mean, if you would do a wine tasting with these posh wine tasters, then they would all spit, and it is
to the rest of us, it's very
I know. Yeah, and so
we have a special, well, I'm sure they do all over Italy, but this weekend is the Cantina Aperta, which means that I don't know why it's just one weekend, all the vineyards are open.
That's a good point. Why is it just one weekend?
So you choose your vineyard, you have your vineyard of choice because that's what you do here, pasta or vineyard, and that's it. And then you go in the morning and they give you, I mean, this is from last year, I go every year, they give you a little glass like this, cushy. And
that's a little glass in Italy, yeah.
Yeah, that's a little glass in Italy. And it goes in a little pouch around your neck. And a hat as well with the vineyard name. So you start at the top where there will be probably white wine, I think, probably at the top of the hills with different sorts of musics and crafts. And then you walk down to the next one, had quite a bit of that, and the next one might be the red wine. So you more music, more wine, more food. Then you walk down the hill to the next one, which might be the rosé, or I mean, you were there for probably about 5 or 6 hours, so you can imagine what
Wow.
state you are by the time you finished it. But it just seems your kind of a place, possibly.
No, that sounds gorgeous. I think we had, I think last weekend, because I live in a wine region as well, which
Oh, yes, of
it was
course, in Germany.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was nice. The research of the book actually made me take more notice of where I live, which is, I mean, you know, we would go and visit the wineries occasionally, and they have these certain periods of the year where they're allowed to open as a kind of restaurant,
Wow.
serving a limited range of food. You know, it's all like the agriturismo in Italy. That's, you know, it's regimented by the government what they're allowed to do before they have to declare themselves a business instead of a
Yeah.
winery, or restaurant instead of a winery. But it made me take a lot more notice, because even, you know, we have vines 5 minutes from here, and it just made me take much more notice of the season. So it was actually really cool, having researched the book and be, you know, thinking about what the vines would look like and preparing for the harvest. And we have this hill of white grapes right there. I mean, they're a different variety, but it really made me watch the progress of the season
Yeah.
nicely.
It
There's one
is
part in
such,
the book.
it's an amazing thing, isn't it? I mean, I don't know what it's like in Germany, but in Italy, they have beautiful rose bushes that are grown. Do they do that in? I've never seen that anywhere else.
Yeah.
And the rose bushes, so that they know that if the rose bushes are attacked by, I don't know, green fly or something, then that's not a good sign for the, you know, for the vines. But it's taken extremely seriously. But going back to the writing for you, and we should be serious about this, because are you now at a place where you want to be, or is there another avenue with regards writing where you would like to go?
I think, I mean, writing wise, I'm quite happy where I am. With my genre, because I mean, I love reading these will they won't they romances with this tension in both directions. That's actually, and especially the period of small children, I actually didn't read much else.
Yeah.
And it was, you know, because it's comforting, it's emotionally fulfilling. And when you're sort of giving out your emotions to small children, that was helpful. But the thing with that is, particularly in the UK, and I think this is changing, so I kind of hope the market will change so I don't have to. But you know, these romances where basically the story is, how do these two people go from being in a position where they aren't in love and they don't want to be in love, to, you know, committed at the end, the happy ending. Those sorts of romances, you know, historically haven't sold as well in traditional bookshops.
Okay.
And so, you know, even now I've only had 2 books that have been distributed through the works, which is amazing. Like, you know, to see my books on the shelves. Italy Ever After was also distributed through W.H. Smith, which is amazing. But again, you know, only 2 of the 6. I mean, hopefully Italian Sunshine will get there. I really hope so. But only 2 of the 6 have been distributed in paperback. So in that regard, I still kind of feel like a bit of a beginner, because it just means if you don't get the paperbacks out there, then nobody knows who you are, you know.
Do you know, I think I know it's a really tough market at the moment. And I know many authors, the holy grail is a publishing contract, and that's absolutely marvelous. And then some publishers say, well, it's great, it's lovely. However, I don't have any control over, I mean, I was going to ask you, how much control do you have over the cover? How much control do you have over the ending? No, we don't like that. Sorry, can you change that? You know, it's, and I know you do have other pen names that you're writing
I have
on.
one of
One
the
pen name.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of published authors are thinking, well, okay, I've got a fantastic publishing contract. You know, they want me to, I've got, you know, contract to do 10, but I do feel there's more to me than that kind of stereotype book, so I'll go down another route. Do you feel that way as well sometimes?
Yeah, I mean, I think I feel the pressure of the market rather than my publisher, and you know, they helped me understand the market. So at the beginning I had no idea. had no idea the sorts of books that were actually being sold in you know, numbers enough to make it a career. You know, on the one hand, it doesn't matter how many copies I sell because it's enough that I keep getting contracts. But on the other hand, it would be kind of nice if it was you know, enough to be a full-time job or something, which is the ultimate dream, which I haven't achieved yet, but it's hopefully trajectory. Yeah, and so it was kind of I wrote something when I was sort of a bit torn about the market and not knowing, you know, thinking that because I love romance, right? Thinking that my books were kind of being presented as sort of more on the women's fiction spectrum, and like I don't know that it's necessarily a helpful distinction, but as a real romance reader, I thought to myself, I'm not sure if I would pick up my books because I can't tell if there's enough romance in it. And so I decided to I was writing something that was more just real sort of genre romance, and I was quite happy with how it turned out. And so I thought, oh well, there's a bit of fun, I'll just publish it. And then the problem is if you then self-publish something, you kind of have to self-publish something else before it picks up any steam.
You know, the $1 million question is, had you not got a contract with Boldwood Books, would you have gone down the self-publishing route?
Possibly not, is the strange thing.
Really?
It's because mainly because you know, maybe I would have. It's hard to tell, you know, as things have changed since I got that contract even. But I think the only reason I did it was because of sort of expectations, confidence, realism. I think I had an understanding of how things work. I had an understanding of marketing reach, as in, and social media and all these sorts of things. And without that, maybe I would have tried, but I think I would have been discouraged very quickly with self-publishing, because I've been bringing books out and I've been in these author groups. I've been finding out the background information. So maybe if I'd had another route, you know, if I was an unpublished author for years with a network of author friends that I now have, then maybe yeah. It's tricky because I see an awful lot of potential in self-publishing, mainly because particularly in the English-speaking market, Amazon is just so powerful, and makes it very hard for the publishers. And so if you can work directly with Amazon, there is an advantage there, definitely. But at the same time, you know, even the self-published market has become really tough recently.
I know.
So I don't know what the answer is.
Luckily for me, I don't write books. I just read everyone else's.
I mean, it gets, for me, the writing is wonderful. The writing is it's not easy, but it's the part that I can understand and control, and I can better, and all these sorts of things. But marketing is deeply unpleasant.
Yes, I know. Deeply unpleasant. I know.
Yeah, and that's the problem when basically, you know, I've come to peace with it to a degree that there's a certain amount of things I need to do for marketing. But the handy thing with Bold,
do they expect you to do a certain amount? I mean, is there
no? I mean, at Boldwood, we're given a lot of support to do it. So they have their marketing team is quite, I mean, I don't know about like headcount size, but they're very active, and they also kind of actively support us, as in finding opportunities and saying you could try this, that sort of thing. Which, but there's definitely no expectation that we do that. And it is hard because it's a bit hit and miss as well. Marketing out as an author is a bit hit and miss.
I guess that because of the launch of the book, Boldwood Books has obviously had a hand in organising your book blog tour. I mean, there was an awful lot there.
Boldwood market themselves a lot,
wasn't there, generated. And then I thought, well, what about the interviews? How do you do that? Do they... I noticed you've got an interview with Sue Moorcroft this week as well. I'm
thrilled.
Oh, she's lovely.
I wish I'd reached out to her years ago. You know, I was always like, oh, I can't message Sue. She's so famous. And then of course when I contacted her, she's lovely and you know, very straightforward, and
she is. I went to hear her speak because she's kind of my neck of the woods back in England, really. So I went to hear her speak, and her talk was entitled 40 Years to Become an Overnight Success, which was just
Wow.
just wonderful, absolutely wonderful. And I was just so determined to just nosy on up to the desk to introduce myself. I do writing retreats, I do this, I do that. Please sign my book for me. You know, her path has been different to yours. And I think what I see again and again is that, you know, obviously with the writing retreats, we're trying to guide new authors, we're trying to give advice to new writers, and it's very difficult when there is no straight path. I wish I could say follow the yellow brick road, and I can't. It's just, you know, go that way, go this way, turn left, turn right, and then maybe, just maybe, there are so many unknowns in this world of publishing now, and I think it's hard now.
Yeah, it is. The flip side of that, though, is that I really feel there's not a huge amount of difference between an unpublished author and a published author in terms of we all write books, you know. And so on the flip side, someone who's not published yet, I can't guarantee that. I mean, if they stop writing and get discouraged, then of course I can guarantee nothing will happen. But you know, if they keep writing, I can't guarantee it will happen. But at the same time, those books, the books, and the main joy. I mean, it is like I can't talk entirely because I did get that contract. I got that lucky break. But writing the books remains the biggest joy for me. The craft, creating the characters, being deep in the research. And you know, it is discouraging if you keep doing that and you don't, you can't bring your book out with a publisher. But at the same time, they are doing it, and it is just as valid as any of my books. So that's the flip side of that is really unpublished writers are writers too, the same as all the rest of us.
I think that from the so many authors that I've seen, and I think how down to earth these people are. I suppose I had years ago when I got into this, it was always, oh gosh, a published author, you know, it must be, you know, celebrity status. They won't want to talk to anybody that they don't know. But I've been so pleasantly surprised. I mean, I just write to people and say, can I interview you? And then say, yes, okay. I think, really?
It's you know, someone else who wants to talk about the world that I created. It's brilliant. You know,
what do your kids and your husband think about? You know, think about your success. Then, you know,
well,
do they bring you back down to earth?
the kids sometimes, yes. No, my husband is wonderful. He always waits until publication day and then he orders his own paperback copy and then he reads it. But over the years, I've talked more to him, though. I think I used to keep all my stories very secret until they were ready to go, but now I talk more to him about, you know, this challenge in this book. And so he said reading Italian Sunshine was funny because I talked about it more. And you know, he was with me for half of the research trip. He was with us,
right.
And so he'd seen certain things as well, and he said it was a bit different this time because there were elements that he recognized from our discussions. But normally the first he sees of my books is when he buys his paperback version, and then he sits and reads it.
You sign a copy for him.
the first one I signed a copy, which is kind of like, what do I never know what to write on signed copies when we occasionally do a giveaway.
What about the characters? Do you base them on people that you know, or do they just appear in your head when you're, I don't know, cooking pasta for supper or something?
Yeah, walking the dog.
Walking the dog.
Or having a shower is the other one where the creative juices get going. Yeah, I mean, certainly sometimes something in real life will just create a spark, and then from there, so sometimes there are aspects of real people, not normally people I know, because that's a little bit too close, but it's helpful. That's the thing, you know, with Instagram these days, you can basically follow anyone on there, and then you get a really interesting view into their life. And so it often does. I do often find it helps to have one or two kind of reference people,
Right.
and then try not to make it too much like them in real life. But, I mean, in the book, yeah, try not to make it too similar. But yeah, but certainly some elements from people that I've found online. Yeah, there was a singer that I listened to a lot when I was writing Italian Sunshine, actually, and I probably can't deny that little bits of him ended up in Tiziano.
Okay.
I hope not too much, but you know, music
Isn't
really.
there? Who's a singer? I'm sure
Oh
that.
no, it's not. Yeah, it's not him though.
Oh no.
Another friend of mine said, "Oh, she's immediately thinking of that singer."
Yeah.
But no, it's not. But yeah, as in, so it's someone who lives local to lives not actually in the Prosecco Hills, but in that part of Veneto anyway. So yeah, it kind of I find it can help to have a reference point in real life to think about, to really, especially at the beginning. You know, at the beginning you don't know your characters at all, and it's hard to get to grips with all of that. But yeah, I try. I mean, they do actually. I say I try not to make them too similar, but they do always grow. They grow their own stories, and
they kind of other sort of authors say they kind of organically grow inside your head, and you can hear them talking to you, you know, and wonderful. What I was going to say is, what books inspired you when you were at school? I'd like to know.
Oh goodness, when I was at school, or the very early years. I mean, I always say part of the reason for my career was actually discovering books like the Bridgerton books back in the day.
Okay.
So, but that's a little bit, you know, I mean, I think as in my late teenage years into early 20s, I kind of discovered the American historical rom-coms.
Right.
As well as some American sports romances and things from that era, which definitely, Susan Elizabeth Phillips is another one. I read a lot of her books, and when I go back and read a little bit today, I kind of realize that a lot of my writing style comes from her, which is very strange.
I think
kind of.
I don't think people. I think people generally underestimate how much influence reading books has on them. You know, in terms of research, in terms of looking at the language, in terms of the story, in terms of absolutely everything. Their reference points. You know, I mean, I'm quite a classic person, you know, your Jane Austen and your Brontes, and you know, and I love all that. And you know, just looking at those, the romance has always been there, and I hope it always will be, because there's always a wonderful story. There's always such a wonderful feeling from the reader when those two people, against the odds, get together. I don't know what it is.
Overcoming. Yeah, overcoming all the obstacles.
Absolutely.
There's a real positivity in it. Yeah, I mean, and that's actually something that ended up in my first book. This idea that love songs are just accepted as that most songs that we listen to are something about relationships and, you know, love relationships. I mean, obviously there's lots of songs that are not, but you generally think most songs are somehow about relationships. And yet there's a sort of an expectation that, I mean, aside from the romance genre, that the book is not, or that, you know, that romance is, you know, perhaps somehow second rate, or the book needs to have something in it aside from the romance. It can't be the main focus. And then you're like, but why are all these songs? Why do all these songs have that focus? Yes. And that's fine, but the books have to have something else. And so it's kind of because my first book was about two musicians, and the one musician who'd always written these kind of this is the male main character who'd always written these sappy love songs, without actually having much experience of the feelings behind it. Was as you know, as the book progresses, you realize that he hadn't actually really understood what it was like to properly be in love, and yet he'd written all these these sappy love songs, and then the other character who had sort of avoided writing about relationships because it was too hard, and then you get these two together, and what happened, and then they have to perform together, and that was basically my first book, exploring all these ideas about love songs. And
will we get a murder mystery from you at any time, sir?
This is the thing. To be honest, I considered
Mrs. Peacock in the library with the dagger.
I had an idea for a cozy mystery with a travel element, right? And then I sort of thought, should I try and write it and see, and then maybe it'll be easier to, because I'm at the point where I would quite like an agent just to see if we might be able to get some translations done. Italy Ever After has been translated into Italian, but aside from that, they haven't been translated. And so then I thought, would I do better if I try and sell them a cozy mystery? And then I started thinking about it a little bit, and then I ended up just plotting out another romance.
Playing it safe.
I'm not ready for that yet.
No, I mean, I can only go off what other writers say to me, that if you know writing, if that is your skill set, if that is your, what you do, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to write in any genre. But, I don't know. I really don't know. But lovely to see you on TikTok, by the way, Leonie.
The author marketing tool that is hit and miss. No, I was supposed to be editing today, so I did a TikTok video about procrastination.
I like the one where you flick the book open, and the thing is, it's so addictive, isn't it? Really, you just sit there and you think, "Oh, how do I do that? Well, I'll do that. Yes, I'll just get my phone out and practice those." So
it is, I suppose, everyone making video, and then with all the different filters, and I always have to Google which filter is that, and I don't know what I'm doing yet.
You've got another book out, or you're certainly doing another one now, aren't you? Which is set in colder climes than a vineyard. And that will be released when, Leonie?
Later this year. We don't have a publication date yet. So it's a winter book. I seem to be doing summer winter. I might try and vary that. We'll see, just because it is a little repetitive, I suppose. But no, this is a very, very superlative winter location. It's very wintry, which is makes it very strange to edit it right now.
I know. I saw that comment and you said, yes, I saw that. Yeah, how lovely. How weird. You don't think how seasonal writing is, but obviously it is, when you're doing a winter book for the winter market. But
particularly with these sorts of books where you are wanting to make the reader feel something, and so you have to imagine all that while you're writing,
and ice and lighting a fire in the winter, which is different.
where the air stabs your face, kind of. It's very different from the Prosecco Hills in summer. Absolutely.
Well, hopefully we'll see you in Italy at some point. I mean, please come and visit. The dog, 3 kids, whatever, it doesn't really matter. You're all welcome. It would be lovely to see you. And I'm so glad that we've actually finally managed to, to get a chat together. It's been so nice. It's been
thank you for having me on and sharing the aperitivo out.
Aperitivo. So here's to more books and writing retreats. What can I say? More new authors. So I'll let you go and cook supper if that's what you need to do.
There's always something that needs doing. Child needs to be put to
bed. I can imagine. I'm surprised we haven't heard the dog in the background, actually.
And my husband's been keeping him under very good control, actually. So he barked a bit yesterday when I was on Suzanne Snow's Facebook group. But no, he's behaving today.
I know you've got some more chats planned this week, so I'm wishing you absolute, what is it, in bocca lupo with the book, and wishing you, hold it up again.
I think this is my favorite cover of all of mine.
I like
as well.
That one.
It just looks so cozy.
It's lovely.
I found it suited them as well, the way they're sitting together.
And it's available on the web, on the website. I know you've got your own website, obviously. It's available on Amazon for anyone who wants to buy, and
all the other ebook retailers as well.
Absolutely.
And Kindle Unlimited, and Spotify. The audiobook is on Spotify and Audible. The paperback is available too, but it's just
And
It's
you
less
are
available
on
than.
Insta, you're on Facebook, you're now on TikTok, which is lovely. So please connect with Leonie. I'm sure she'd be happy to have you as a follower. So on that note, I will leave you. But thank you so much.
Wendy.
It's
All the
been
best.
lovely.
And yeah, I meant to ask, yeah, that I hoped you hadn't been affected by any of the flooding.
I haven't. We're on a hill, which is lucky in a way. The barn next to the house has a very substantial concrete base.
Mm-hmm.
So I think without that, we may well have been in danger of sliding down the hill.
Goodness.
But we've got this concrete barn next to us. But yes, it's been bad. And I don't know what's going on with the weather, Leonie, quite frankly. I don't know whether to get my sunglasses or a brolly or a sweater or light the fire. I just don't know what's going on.
Very crazy spring. Hopefully the summer will get better.
I hope so. I hope so. Anyway, I'm going to love you and leave you.
Thank you, Wendy.
Take care.
Bye.